Welcome to the love-infused ravings of Bach. Deliberate. I was just noticing how interesting it is to be so deliberate with my actions. And it just means paying attention to what we're doing. We sort of toss off that saying, like, oh, you just pay attention. What does that mean? You're focused on what you're doing. You're not thinking at the same time. You're paying attention. Your attention is on what you're doing as opposed to being on thought. Really, it's a very binary choice in that way. You're either paying attention to mind or to presence, right? Just being present, which is attention is not thinking. If we're paying attention to thinking, there's thinking going on and there's attention on it. And that's all, we hear this lofty word mindfulness, and it sounds sort of unattainable. But it just means paying attention, right? Just we put our attention on what we're doing as opposed to paying attention to thought. And just notice now, notice when you're going through your day, how much of your day you're lost in thinking and you're just going about your business on automatic, kind of. You can also notice how remarkable that is. We're not even thinking about what we're doing almost all the time, and we're able to somehow do it, drive cars and shop and cook and work and so many things we can do while we're still lost in mind. And it makes you wonder, how is that happening? How is it possible? Some of these things take a lot of choreographed movement, and how can we do it with so little attention on it? But we pay attention, right? Mindfulness, just paying attention, putting our attention on what we're doing. And the mind has to be quiet. You can't have it on both. You can't be thinking about something and also paying attention to what you're doing fully. So if we're putting full attention, focused attention on what we're doing, and it becomes very deliberate in the best way. I guess some people would use the word intentional, which I don't necessarily care for because it's a word that doesn't necessarily make sense to everybody. So deliberate, and it becomes slower and richer and more graceful, more interesting. It's like trying to pick up that cup with grace and poise or even humor or however, right? But it's like it turns it into play in a sense. Everything becomes a kind of high-level game. And the game isn't to win. You get to sort of play within those margins of what you're doing and your attention on it. And when you can start to change it, you can start to change that behavior and play with it and do it differently. And what is this like? What if I did this? What if I walked like this? What if I, stood up differently? I mean, anything. If we're paying attention to it, all of a sudden these possibilities open up to do it differently. And then we can start doing it in a way that's delightful, We start noticing how it's possible to do things differently just because attention has opened it up. It's not rote anymore. We're not lost in thought while the body goes about its business. And of course, that's what meditation is, right? But instead of focusing on what we're doing, we're focusing on being or letting go of focusing. I mean, the beginning of meditation, right? We can use our attention to temporarily quiet the mind, focus our attention somewhere else instead of thinking. Maybe it's on the breath. Maybe it's on a mantra. Maybe it's on a visual, some kind of image, a vision of sorts. It's like that gives us a taste of quiet mind. And also, if you focus on your breath, I suppose, anything long enough, the attention lets go, the focus lets go. And it's sort of this deep slowing down, relaxation, and it's just happening on its own. There can still be one pointed focus, but it's effortless. It's almost like you've stepped into a deep pool and it's so quiet you don't want to move to disturb the silence and the stillness. But it doesn't take any work. You stop because the stillness is heaven.